Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. I hope you're doing well. Very often the question is asked, who is the next big boxing superstar? You know, the person that is considered to be revered by hardcore fans and casuals alike, and you know, number one in the pound for pound list with most people, and so on and so forth. Well, I think you'd be hard pushed to pick someone who probably qualifies more than SUBRIEL Matias, because Matias is the IBF super lightweight champion. He defended his title against Ergashev at the weekend, stopped him. I mean, Ergashev effectively retired after 5 rounds. He was just beaten up, couldn't do anything at all with Matias. And Matias was just sublime in that fight, as he was in his title-winning effort against Jeremias Ponce. Now, this is a small boxing channel, and you know, we got like 2,600 subscribers or whatever it is. But yeah, boxing's a niche sport anyway. But as far as boxing channels goes, this isn't a particularly big one. But I had just under 10,000 views over the weekend. And I immediately thought, oh, that must be the Katie Taylor factor, because Katie's victory over Chantel Cameron was a fantastic event, fantastic fight. Katie was brilliant. Chantel more than played her part. And I said, oh, you know, I put a comment in the whatever it's called page on the channel, the community page. I said, oh, people sure do love Katie Taylor. And one of my subscribers said, well, actually, look at the figures for Matias. You know, and I did. I went back and looked at the little video that I did, which was really just I think it was about 7-minute review of the fight, and it had about 5,000 views. And I'm thinking, oh God. So already, even if I know you can't judge it by this titchy little channel, but nevertheless, it does suggest that there is some tremendous sort of momentum with this guy, that a lot of people know about him who know boxing. And this is kind of a hardcore channel because, you know, most of the subscribers are really into their boxing. They are paying attention to this guy, and so are a lot of other people who perhaps boxing isn't their first love sports-wise, but they've heard about this guy and they want to see him, they want to hear about him because of the way he fights. I absolutely think that this guy, although he's 31, which isn't particularly young, well, it's not old, but it's not particularly young, I definitely think he can have this sort of Terence Crawford-style Indian summer of a career and also propel himself to, you know, if not mainstream superstardom, then certainly carve a place in the history books where he is recognised as, if not the, then certainly one of the best fighters of his generation. Now, Matias at 140, if you look at the other champions, you are talking, well, at WBA you've got Rolando Romero. Poor old Rolly was gifted that title. He would get smashed to bits by Matias if he ever went anywhere near him. He'll probably lose his title very soon to maybe a B- fighter. They must be queuing up to fight Rolly because he is not a very established fighter, shall we say, in terms of technique, in terms of defence, of power, in terms of a lot of things. You know, he is definitely the weak link in the chain. The WBC champion is Regis Prograis, which would be a fantastic fight with Matias. But he's got other things to do with Devin Haney, who's moving up from lightweight. Their fight's coming up soon. So those are the 3 big ones. The WBO title, by the way, the 4th of the so-called Big 4, is currently vacant. What about welterweights? Let's say Matias was to eventually outgrow the 140-pounders, or, you know, maybe just wouldn't get the opportunities, and he'll think, I'll try my luck at 147. Well, the IBF champ is Jaron Ennis, who is a very big welterweight. And I think that would be an interesting fight with Matias. I don't advocate Matias going up to 147 while he can make 140. I always believe fighters should stay in their natural weight division. And I think I would probably pick Ennis over Matias Size does matter, strength does matter. We saw that with Benavidez and Andrade. Very, very evident that the size and the strength and the power mattered. You've got the WBA champ, who's Emantas Stanionis. Good fight, yeah, good fight. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. He's got that sort of low fat diet title, hasn't he? Because the real champ, of course, is Terence Crawford. But as with Ennis being made up to full fat IBF champ, Stanionis may well find himself, if the belts go up in the air, being promoted. I don't know. I don't know how the WBA works. I give up trying to read what these alphabet soup organisations do, because it's just so... There is no logic. You're looking for logic where there is none. And of course, WBO champ Terence Crawford. Who else have we got? What have I missed out? WBC, WBO, IBF, Ennis, WBA, Crawford. Yeah, I mean, it depends where the belts go up. But if they do go up in the air, Matias might think, I'll move up and become a two-weight world champ. It's quite possible. And then he'll have to, there'll be talk of him fighting unifications. But as I say, I would much prefer to see him at 140. Now, in case you didn't know, Matias is from Puerto Rico. They know their boxing. They love their boxing. Whenever you see a fight card from Puerto Rico, the atmosphere is fantastic. They've had some great fighters in the past. The two most prominent ones of the last 20 years are Felix Trinidad and Miguel Cotto. Can Stanionis emulate some of their success? I don't see why not, because although he is 31, he's got an awful lot of gas left in the tank. I don't think there's many miles on the clock with this guy. I think he's just coming into his own, his prime. I see absolutely no reason why he can't clean up at 140 and then make a splash at 147. And I just think that this is a very special fighter indeed, and someone that we're all. If you love boxing, you're gonna love watching this guy. When his future fights are coming up, you're going to be thinking, okay, I'm going to watch this guy. I'm going to make a concerted effort to watch this man, and he'll be headlining soon. I mean, he was on the undercard of one of the chief supports to the Benavidez Andrade fight. It's also worth mentioning with Matias that he was involved in 2019 in a fatality against Maxim Dadyshev. Dadyshev retired after 11 rounds and died later of his injuries. Very, very sad event. And I think when you consider that 2 fights later, Matias lost to Petros Anyan, and he avenged that fight. I mean, that was in 2020 when he lost. He avenged that fight in 2022. So he kind of... But I mean, when you consider Anyan, he's a decent enough fighter, but how did he beat Matias? I suspect Matias had things on his mind. I suspect that it was a case of Matias having those ghosts, those demons, however you want to phrase it, in his head from that very tragic Dadyshev fight. He seems to have come out of that fog now. Certainly if his performances against Ponce and Ergashev. I mean, Shojahan Ergashev was undefeated. He was 23-0 coming in, 19 KOs, and he had a big reputation as a big pressure fighter, hits hard, very stand-up, but he lacked experience. He didn't have enough rounds under his belt. Ponce was the same. I mean, 30 wins and I can't remember how many knockouts I found. It 21? Was it 21? It might have been more than 21, actually. But anyway, however many it was, he put it on Matias as well. They both did early on. Ponce had more success, but eventually got ground down. And that's because Matias, he just seems to have this ability to... He covers up. He's got a very high guard. He goes to work normally after having had a look at you after 1 or 2 rounds. He seems to have that very sort of high ring IQ that we like to see in the elite fighters, that all the elite fighters really need. And he was able to certainly chop down Ergashev very quickly. With Ponce, it rather came, I suppose, not out of the blue, but it was a rather sudden ending. I mean, I didn't like the look of Ergashev's body language very early on in. Oh, I'll say very early on. It was only lasted 5 rounds, but from round 3, 4 onwards, I was thinking Ergashev's he's flagging badly here, and he looked exhausted. Whereas Ponce, even though you could see the tide turning, it was quite a sudden, dramatic ending. I didn't expect him to quit on his stool, or his actually his. I mean, whereas Ergashev quit, flat out quit. You can see him shaking his head. Ponce, I think, was pulled out by his corner, and with good cause. But there doesn't seem to be any sort of residue from that Maxim Dadashev tragedy in Matias anymore, and for that reason, I think he's kind of turned a corner there. I think at 31, he's probably a more mature man now. The older you get, again, as we always say, no substitute for life experience. I absolutely think he's probably ready now to have another 3, 4, 5 years at the very top. His experience, life experience, because he's got quite a shady background from when he was a young man. I think he was shot at a few times, or he might have even been shot. I don't know. Same with Crawford. Crawford was, of course, shot once. But you put that together with some maturity, and you've got yourself a very formidable force there. So what do you think of Matias? Leave your comments below. Do you think he is the next superstar, either within the hardcore sort of boxing fraternity, or do you think perhaps he can transcend boxing and become a mainstream superstar like a Pacquiao? I mean, I know he doesn't speak very good English, Matias, or does he speak any English at all? I'm not sure. I don't think he does. But sometimes people just think this guy is an explosive fighter. I want to see him. And you are able to transcend the sport and even transcend the fact there may be a language barrier. So let me know your opinion. Leave your comments below. Thanks very much, as always, for your time. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and hit the like button. And yeah, spread the word about Joe Stonner Boxing. And I will catch you later. Bye for now.